Thank you. Our next guest speaker is Lieutenant General Antonio Aguto, U.S. Army retired. Lieutenant General Aguto was commissioned an armor officer from the United States Military Academy in 1988. He has multiple leadership roles, including Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, and Freedom Sentinel. His career includes key command and staff positions across the U.S. Army, NATO, and European theaters with significant experience in training, advisory roles, and multinational operations. Now, these have included the Commanding General of 1st Army, Commanding General 3rd Infantry Division, Deputy Chief of Staff G357, U.S. Army Forces Command, and Commander 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. His last assignment was Commanding General of the Security Assistance Group, Ukraine from 2022 to 2024. Lieutenant General Aguto is the grandson of First Lieutenant Felix Aguto, Philippine Scouts, and U.S. Army Forces in the Philippines, Northern Luzon, who survived the Bataan Death March. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Aguto.
Good morning. Oh, come on, we knew better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
What a beautiful day to be here and honor our veterans. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your service. I stand humbled to be in front of you and given the privilege to speak. My name is Tony Aguto. I am a proud grandson of a Filipino war veteran, Filipino scout. I am a proud son-in-law and nephew to a Korean War veteran as well, and I am incredibly honored to be here today. First, I would like to thank Cecilia Garland, the Bataan Legacy Historical Society, Rod de la Concepcion, and the members of the American Legion Magdalena Leonos, Post 510, the leadership of Region 9 Filipino Veterans Recognition Education Project, FilVetRep, and of course all our law enforcement, first responders, military personnel for being here today to honor our veterans. You add pageantry and professionalism to this service and this remembrance. Thank you for what you do every day. Andy, Tiangsong, thank you for your wonderful words of inspiration. You bless us today. But mostly I'd like to thank our veterans, our families and friends who traveled all this way to honor our veterans and being here today, and especially the families of the Congressional Gold Medal. I have a speech. I think I'll go off script for just a minute and just say thank you. Today we gather to pay tribute to Filipino soldiers and guerrilla fighters who stood shoulder to shoulder with Allied forces in World War II. Those heroes faced unimaginable hardships, risking everything to defend freedom, to defend us, and to defend justice in the face of tyranny. Yet for too long, their contributions have been overlooked. And I think it is our duty, our solemn duty, to honor their legacy, to remember their sacrifices and those of their family. I am honored to stand before you with the privilege of recognizing a few of these heroes and giving them and presenting them the Congressional Gold Medals to the families of those who have gone before us. This recognition is long overdue, and I am truly humbled to be here. I am a soldier for life, a U.S. Army retired general who has had the privilege to serve this great nation, our great country. But despite my nearly 40 years of service, like Andy Tiangsong, what inspires me and inspired me every day is the stories of those who have gone before us. Those stories of our veterans who spend their lives sacrificing and serving others. So if you will allow me just a few brief moments to share some of those stories. When the Philippines fell to the Japanese in 1942, many Filipino Americans were captured. Thousands chose to resist over surrender, as Andy has mentioned, and scattered across the islands. These brave men and women formed guerrilla units and launched a fierce underground campaign against the Japanese occupation. One powerful example is Nieve Fernandez. Before the war, she was a humble school teacher in Tacloban, Leyte. But when the Japanese invaded, she didn't run, she rose. She formed a guerrilla unit from villagers and former soldiers armed with nothing more than homemade shotguns and bolos. Under her knowledge of the land, she led surprise attacks, sabotaged supply lines, and rescued civilians. The Japanese feared her so much they put a 50,000 peso bounty on her head, and even after being shot and wounded, she kept fighting. Her leadership helped weaken the enemy's grip on Leyte and paved the way for Allied forces to return, for Douglas MacArthur to return. And after the war, she quietly returned to civilian life, back to teaching. She didn't seek praise, she didn't seek public life, she didn't seek infamy, but she returned back to her humble beginnings as a teacher. But her courage still echoes today, a reminder of the strength of the spirit of the Filipino people. I joined the military, largely in part because of stories I've heard passed down. Some part of Aguto family folklore, some part I learned from my grandfather's old memoirs. He was a young Filipino who quietly and literally walked to the sounds of the guns to join the fight against tyranny. When MacArthur was forced to leave the Philippines, my grandfather was captured and imprisoned in a Japanese camp. During that time, my grandmother, his partner in every sense, kept the family safe and somehow managed to smuggle provisions into the camp with the help of my Tita Odette and their 6 children, my grandfather being a toddler at the time. After his release, my grandfather continued to fight, eventually becoming a company commander in the U.S. Army and played a role in the offensive that drove the Japanese from the Philippines. But you know his greatest, perhaps his greatest, victory wasn't on the battlefield. It was a life he instilled and built after the war. Together with my grandmother, he raised 7 children, instilled the values of love, resilience, honor, and service. Excuse me, allergies. You know, I do this all the time. I don't know why every time I choke up and talk about my grandfather. Today's legacy was gone. In his 21 grandchildren, his nephews, my cousins who are here today, my brother-in-law who's here today, many of whom, like me, followed in their footsteps and continue to serve in the military. Another recipient, the Sikita family, and I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. They wrote and shared with me, after serving in the U.S. Army, our grandfather, Lolo Doritio, continued his life of service as a firefighter in the Philippines, eventually rising to the rank of captain. He and his grandmother, their grandmother, raised 4 children before moving to the United States, where they settled here in Daly City, California. Their Lolo Doritio worked in security in Kaiser Permanente, but as his family writes, his most meaningful role came afterwards, spending his days caring and helping raise the grandchildren and always sharing stories of his time in the military. We and they are truly grateful for his grandfather's his service and love he gave to our family. His strength, humility, and dedication continue to inspire us every day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Another recipient, the Embry family. The Embry shared with us at just 16, Benjamin Embry enlisted in the 26th Cav Charlie Troop Filipino Scouts. Thanks to a recruiter who looked the other way that he was not old enough to join the military. He wanted boots, the uniform, the panache, the horse, who by the way was named King, and the chance to serve. As a fellow cavalryman, I can understand that. After a mission to Cagayan Valley, that mission went off course, and he ended up in Bataan, in the heart of the fighting. There he endured starvation and hardship, but fought with all he had. Captured and sent to Camp O'Donnell, he survived. And when General MacArthur returned, Benjamin rejoined the fight, like my grandfather, serving until the Philippines were liberated. After the war, he traded his cavalry boots for gloves, became a professional boxer, police officer, and plantation security chief, and the father of 16 children. God love you. They are also proud of his service, and thank you for being here with us today. It's because of stories like these, the Congressional Gold Medal became a reality. If you allow me one more story to talk a little bit about the history. The Filipino World War II soldiers have been petitioning Congress since 1954 for their benefits and recognition as U.S. veterans. The Rescission Act of 1946, passed by Congress, revoked all their U.S. nationality status that prevented them from being recognized as American citizens and declined the war fund benefits through pay. Time after time, Congress was lobbied to give Filipino World War II veterans the recognition they deserve, justly deserve, receiving benefits for service to our country. In 2014, after many futile attempts to have Congress repeal the Rescission Act, FilVet-Rep was created under the leadership of Tony Taguba, Major General retired Tony Taguba, and mobilized many numerous Phil-Am of Filipino American associations and leaders across the country, pursuing the Congressional Gold Medal. After 17 months of lobbying Congress, they finally passed, Public Law 114-265, the Filipino Veterans World War II Congressional Gold Medal Act of 2015. This law awards a Congressional Gold Medal collectively to Filipino veterans of World War II in recognition of their outstanding wartime achievements and honorable service to the United States during World War II. It was signed into law on December 14, 2016 by President Barack Obama. Since 2017, when Speaker of the House Paul Ryan formally presented the first congressional medals to hundreds of Filipino World War II veterans in the Emancipation Hall in Washington, we have presented Congressional Gold Medals to living veterans and their family members. Today marks the 118th celebration and ceremony that have been gone across our country since then. 118th. It's pretty amazing. As we reflect on these stories of courage, resilience, and sacrifice, we are reminded that the freedoms we enjoy today were hard-won by those who have gone before us. Veterans like my grandfather, Felix Aguto, Lolo Doroteo, and Benjamin Embry. They did more than fight on the battlefield. They laid the foundation to generations to come. The bravery lives on, not just in medals or history books, but in the lives of our children, their grandchildren, and those that have gone after them, and all who continue to serve. Our charge, our solemn oath, is to carry the legacy forward with honor, with gratitude, and with the unwavering spirit of our Filipino hearts. Maraming salamat po, and we never forget their sacrifice. Salamat sa inyong serbisyo. Thank you. May God continue to bless you, your families. May God continue to bless those in uniform and those abroad. And may God continue to bless the Philippines and our great country. Thank you for being here.